Before 2014, I had an accounting job. I found out about SEO on the side. I was like, oh, this sounds really cool. Affiliate marketing. Got into that, got a few sites going, got it to a few $1,000s a month, got married, convinced my wife, hey, let's move to Chiang Mai, Thailand. Spent a few years there really trying to build the business, get multiple sites going, got that up and going. And then the last few years really spent a lot of time on one big authority site, doing a lot of cool things, building a team from there. So that's where I am right now.
So your main focus is one site, but I know you have some others around. So how many total are you sort of involved in any capacity?
I'm going to say like 5 or 6. So we've got the main one, and then I've got like 3 JV situations where a few folks have partnered with me, different arrangements. Sometimes I'll help more in the funding aspect, and they have the desire and the SEO knowledge, and they'll kind of build, and we'll do coaching calls and stuff like that. So yeah, I think about 5 or 6 sites.
And your main focus most of your time is just on the one site?
Yeah, I'd say close to 100%. Like I do, take time to do calls and help the students and the JV partners and stuff like that. But 99% of the time on the one big site, the team, and growing a lot of new initiatives over there.
Okay. And what made you decide to just focus on the one site? I know a lot of people I bump into think, hey, I want to have a portfolio and I don't want to, I guess, have all my eggs in one basket sort of situation. So what made you focus on the one site?
Right. And I mean, I've gone back and forth over the years on like a portfolio or one site. And I used to be a huge fan of multiple sites. And I still think, depending on where you are in your progression, I think multiple sites definitely have a lot of advantages. So what happened was I partnered. It was the first site really, well, we did like a partnership on a site, but this was like the first time I started a JV from the beginning. He pitched me on building this site, and we wanted to go big. And the niche was perfect. It was very lucrative, and the site just really took off and we knew this was like a winner. And we saw that not only was it doing really well early on, we could expand this and do even better. So it just became super apparent that no other sites really deserved attention, if that makes sense, that I needed to be focusing here because we had a big winner and we had a lot of potential to kind of grow it into the future.
And I know we're not going to mention specific dollar amounts or anything like that, but can we broadly give the scope so people understand that it's a 7-figure business, right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, great. Congratulations. It's pretty cool. I assume
Thank you.
When you started doing some stuff on the side, you didn't think you were going to be pulling in 7 figures.
Nope, not at all. And I still remember like the first few dollars. I still remember hitting the first 10K month. I remember like driving with my wife like vividly on one of the freeways when we first hit 20K in a month. And I was like, wow, like, is this real? So yeah, it's crazy really to take the time to reflect on the start and where we are now.
And when you quit your job and you moved to Chiang Mai, like that was 2014, is that right?
The very end of 2014, yeah.
All right. So when you were heading out, like, did your parents think you were nuts? Like your siblings and family, like what were they thinking that you were doing?
Right. Okay. So kind of a mixed bag. Like my dad has always been a little bit more conservative. When I first pitched him like months earlier on, I want to quit my job, he was kind of like, no, like keep your job. And then like moving over there is kind of like, it was like, you couldn't even translate what we were doing. It was too foreign to them. But even my dad, he can be conservative and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, when I say I've got this, I'm going, he was very supportive. My mom's super supportive, and my wife's parents were also like kind of clueless. They're kind of questioning like, is this the right move? But ultimately, like the underlying tone was support, just not sure what the heck you're doing.
Cool. Yeah, that's it's interesting. I don't think my parents don't quite understand. They know I do YouTube videos now, which is a little more visible, but yeah. It seems like, well, everything's going fine, right? So I think they could tell we're not asking for money. So they're like, oh, they must be doing okay. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into the nuts and bolts because, you you mentioned something earlier about you launched the site, and we're talking about the big one. We're going to focus on that one. And it went really well out of the gate. And there's probably a little bit of luck with timing and the amount of focus you were able to give. And, I've seen this in my own business as well. But I want to get into the nuts and bolts of launching the site. Even though it's been a few years, I think we can still learn a lot. So off the bat, let us know when you launched the site, how much content did you publish initially, and just from the content side, what the plan was, say, for the first 6 to 12 months.
Gotcha. Okay. So again, to give the backstory, I was pitched by my now business partner to do a site in December 2016. And then I was kind of on holiday and I was like, maybe let's wait a month and come back to me. So he came back to me in January and we were picking through a few different niches and kind of picked one that we thought was good and launched the site early February 2017. I think we launched with 50,000 words. And then I think the content was, I can't remember how much we did over the 6 to 12 months, but we saw early on that the site was doing really well. The rankings were jumping a lot faster than we were used to. And from there, we started to prioritize a lot more content and just go really, 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 really hard because once we started digging in, we just saw tons of keywords that we hadn't even considered that were huge money keywords. And actually back then, we were talking about links, we actually launched with PBNs. We got up to like 50 or 70. And then by September, so we're saying launched February, by September, we were peeling them off and we were PBN free by that December.
Interesting. Yep. And this, you mentioned you and I worked together on a project on a site. And we used one of your sites and basically I had PBNs and we removed them and then sold the site. And that was, it was a fun project. And you sort of did the same thing with the new site, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we had someone focused on outreach and just got really good internally. And we felt like it was just, PBNs were kind of not really congruent with a big site like this and something super long-term that we wanted to grow.
Okay, cool. And from the content standpoint, you said you launched with about 50,000 words. Can you give us an idea of how much of it was informational versus affiliate and the length of the content as well?
Yeah, I think it was about a 50-50 split. I remember being pretty deliberate about that being split. I think split in terms of the number of articles, not total word count, because our money articles, I think, were somewhere between maybe 2,000 and 4,000 words, give or take. And our informational, probably most would fit around, 800 to 1,500. Let's just call it 1,000 words.
Okay. And for the informational content, was it mostly focused, if you remember, and you could tell me like how it is now too, but sort of how-to content or problem solving, or was there a certain kind of style of informational content that you focused on?
I think it was a mix. I think problem solving was a big component of it. It was really just what we thought were like kind of the lower hanging keywords that could get us some initial traffic off the bat.
And I love going into all these details, and hopefully you can remember some of the stuff from the early days, but you mentioned, I think 50 to 70 PBN links, and you said you launched with those. So did those get added like slowly over the first few months and then you remove them slowly, or did you literally launch with all of those links?
Yeah, good question. So we were following a pretty specific game plan where it was like, I believe the first PBNs hit like a month and a half after the February launch. And it was really slow. It was maybe like 1 a week for the first month, then 2 a week for month 2, and then 3 or 4 a week for month 3, something like that, where it really started to pick up as time went on.
Okay.
And coinciding with our traffic going up. So we felt like traffic was the biggest indicator that we deserved to get these links. And you don't just send tons and tons of links necessarily to like a dead site. Or that was the theory, at least for us at the time.
Okay. And that makes sense. That in the one step further is basically the site is getting traffic, people see it, thus they're linking to it. So the velocity of those links, it wouldn't be surprising to increase. That's what the logic is, right?
Exactly. And in addition, I think PBNs were like, they've always been a little bit risky. And I think to have traffic on your site, it kind of, at that time, validated the fact that it kind of like made the risk a little bit lower. I think outreach, you could start it naturally because that's just like a natural way that you try to get links. But it was just another layer to make the PBNs not so obvious. You don't send PBNs to like a site that has no traffic because it's just very obvious, and Google can pick up on that.
It's pretty weird. Yep. So with that sort of launching strategy, do you think it would still work today? And how would you tweak it if you were launching a new site?
So I would go 100% outreach. Wouldn't even dabble with PBNs anymore. Even on like, unless you wanted to build a super small site just for experimental purposes, even your smaller sites, I think outreach all the way.